All right, what's good, y'all? Hope everybody's living well and staying blessed. It's your boy Marcus B. As always, I am here with the one and only Mr. Evan Simmons.
What's up?
Hope you're living well, big dog.
Yeah.
Good to hear, man. This is episode 12 of Holla at Your Boy, and today I sat down with a amazing friend of mine, colleague, former kind of roommate, the one and only Mr. Connor Towns, and we sat down and talked a lot about teaching philosophy, his personal philosophies, my personal philosophies, things that we've encountered over the years, and things that we would want to implement in our future classrooms. And then we talk a little bit about him being in Miami and then me coming in to visit him. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. As always, if you like what we're doing out here, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all those things. Again, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play now. So if you're just looking for the audio, that's where you could find it. Or if you're into the video thing, all those things on YouTube. Apparently there's a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts that helps us out. So if you want to help us out, man, to get this to more people, that'd be great. If you leave a review, we'll give you a shout out. All those things. If you talk mess, I might talk mess back to you. We'll see what's up. As always, I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Peace. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Good, man.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to that intro, man.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Just before, the first 10?
Yeah.
The first 10, it was just like, all right, here we go. And we would start, but
Sure,
now it's
yeah,
just
you go
like,
for it.
we have that in the background. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, first off, go ahead and introduce who you are, what you do, where you're from, all those fun things.
Sure. I'm Connor. You know me because we went to college together.
Very much so,
And
yes.
I could say we virtually lived together for a part of that time.
Good. You lived on our couch for a while. I
Yeah,
lived on your
yeah,
couch
yeah,
for a
yeah.
while.
You know,
I think it eventually
to
equals
tit
a
for tat
year.
thing. Yeah, for sure. I'm from Lubbock, and then I went to Texas State after deciding I was going to do music, and did a music ed degree with you and a whole bunch of other people there on varying schedules. And instead of doing teaching right afterwards, I got a really cool opportunity to fly out to Miami and do a master's degree at the Frost School for trumpet, specifically by itself.
Yeah.
And so that, when the world fell apart, that was pretty much done.
Luckily, you mostly finished it.
Yeah, no, I got everything taken care of. But then I just recently, why I'm able to be here now is that I'm on my way to move back to Austin.
Yeah.
Basically, and see what real adulthood's like.
Yeah, you kind of skated away from it for a little bit.
I postponed it as long as I
postponed
could.
it.
Yeah, I said
And at least you got another degree out of it. I postponed it and still only got one, and it still managed to be longer than what you did.
Yeah, but the second degree, it's just whether I can blow in a tube better or not. That's all it is.
It's still more than me, man. It is what it is. But
Was that enough? Do you want to know more? Do you want to know less? Was that too much?
Dude, give me your deepest, darkest fear. I'm just kidding. We don't need to go into that.
Starting off that way?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I know that. Yeah, I'll send you a therapy tape of mine.
Oof.
Do that later.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I'm just kidding.
Save that for tonight. Well, before we get into anything, because you brought it up when you first got here, is you felt like you wanted to clear your name to all the homies in the marching band world.
People that I've talked to. Yeah.
So, and I know we briefly talked about it last night, but I was cooking dinner and not fully engaged in the conversation because I was trying to make sure I didn't burn nothing. And so, if you will, please elaborate on what you mean by that. What do you feel like you need to clear up?
I hope I don't actually like legitimately need to clear up anything. I hope not. I just know that like when we have talked in our friend groups and stuff, if we ever start talking about, things we would do different with like band or teaching or things like that, inevitably that conversation leads to, the way marching band works, like in Texas and stuff. And then I feel like it doesn't take very long for people to be like, oh, okay, well, Connor hates marching band, which isn't true. This is not how I feel about it at all. It's not something that was like a huge part of my like public school, like my high school band experience. I did it. I was, we did the shows and we went to UIL and contest and all that stuff. I was sectional leader for a little bit at that time and all those things. Like I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I just didn't know. Out in West Texas, there just was like...
Get this mic a little bit
closer there. Thanks so much.
Sounds better.
That's great. I still think this is so cool.
Thanks, man.
I don't know. It was like... It just wasn't... It was just a thing we did for fun. And we knew that there were like competitions and stuff. Yeah. But, when I get to Texas State and we do summer marching band for the collegiate level, everyone's running around asking each other, where'd you march this summer? Where'd you march this summer? What corps were you marching this summer? And I like don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
What? And people come up to me, hey, where'd you march this summer? And I was like, Lubbock High School marching band? What do you mean? Summer?
I marched last football season.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I marched at all this summer. Yeah. Were you doing that? And it was a really normal thing. And so like all of a sudden, and people are coming from... More people from like Central Texas are going to Texas State, and so they're coming from either programs that were really, really competitive, or they were at least aware of those contests and aware of certain names and stuff. Yeah. I had no clue. People are asking me, "Oh, I went to this high school in San Antonio. I went to this high school in Dripping Springs. Or I went to this high school in Austin. All this stuff." I'm like, I don't know where any of that is. Got no clue. Oh, my band director so and so, and they're like, "Great." And I'm like, I don't know who that is. Yeah, like I have no clue. This is a totally different world. And I don't know, maybe it's just that like it just was it's something that I liked. I really liked college marching band. I really liked that I got to have fun. Like I really liked that there was never at the end of a show someone going, here's your scores and here's what you need to do better and here's what you need to do better. Like obviously we work on what's happening on the field and stuff, but it wasn't like we're goofing around out there. We're having fun. And I thought that was great. I really loved that, which is funny because other of our friends and then people that we were in school with,
hated that.
Yeah, they're like, I hate that we don't clean this or we don't fix this or we don't, perform some real music, whatever that means. And I can rant about that if you want. No,
there's a couple of talking points I know I can get you going on. But.
No, but like because of that, moving forward, then it just I just had a really wide variety of interests. I was really, really enjoying all the playing I was getting to do in college. I was taking composition lessons. I got a ton out of those, and that introduced me to whole other like worlds of music that I wouldn't have known about otherwise. Yeah. Like, and for good reason, stuff that we're not like going to be teaching kids in middle school or high school.
All that experimental.
Things that are way outside of notes and rhythms. Yeah. But that was really good for me to have like up close direct access with. And so there's a whole bunch of different things going on at that time. And so it just ended up being, I don't know. I personally grew a little bit weary of, we'd be hanging out at a friend's house or something and people were having dinner and, all of a sudden the conversation for the next 2 hours is dominated about, differences in like teching and where people are, all the inside scoops about which shows are doing this and who's competing here.
All that inside baseball conversation.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad that that's something that is such a rich culture in Texas. That's a very unique thing. For me personally, like I wasn't keeping up with it. And so I don't know, in a way in my head, I was like, man, everyone's here gossiping about like high schools, dude. High school kids don't gossip about the high schools as much as y'all do. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. So for that reason, like, then to leave and go to Florida for 2 years, where, you know, that kind of culture is not even close in terms of, I don't know, dominance of the programs out there. It was just kind of gone. And so then all of a sudden, like, I came across to people in Florida as like, Connor's this big marching dude. Like, you know, Connor's all about like, you know, band and, you know, what Texas does with the UIL, which is crazy because in college, I was like the person that was always trying to dip out of that conversation. So, you know, it's a perspective thing. But all that is to say, I think it's really cool. I think it's amazing that we can get high school kids to do what they do on the field. Yeah. I think that's awesome. I just also think that there are lots of other things that are within like the circle of what music is. Yeah. And marching band's in there and it's really cool. There's just also other stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. When people were like, you don't want to teach? I'm like, I love teaching. I think about teaching all the time. A weird thing that happened to me in Miami was for 2 years, I thought that I was going to get way more invested in, I guess, the performance aspect of side or just me playing. And what really happened was that I couldn't stop thinking about how I would teach stuff. Like, okay, we just learned about this, or we just talked about, you know, we had a master class with someone and they were about, you know, the mental aspect of how you get rid of nerves or how you, you know, assign like meaning or context to whatever you're playing, strategies for that kind of stuff. And I wasn't thinking about that for me. I was constantly like, okay, how do you teach that to kids? How do you simplify that? How do you get that put in? No, so like I love teaching. I just wanted to be a music teacher. I personally knew I wouldn't be out of everybody, all the young people in Texas that are in this. I was not going to be, you know, a great marching band director. Yeah. It's not what I spent my time on. So I don't hate it.
So just to be clear,
that's just for like our friends and people that we went to school with. You're like, yeah, Connor like really never seemed to. I think he hates marching band. I don't know.
So Connor doesn't hate marching band.
I don't. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of good things that come from it.
And you know, that's definitely the aspect of which I focus more on about. And me and Evan had this conversation. Was that episode 3? The pillars?
2.
2. Wait, no, 2 was.
Yeah.
No, I think whatever. One of the early episodes, because 2 was the one that we did by accident, but we still put it out. I thought 3 was.
3 was mental health.
3 was mental health. Huh. Whatever. Teaching. We've talked about teaching a bunch on this episode, on this show because
of course.
You know that's what we are.
Yeah.
But just the difference in what the goal is for education and what it is that you're like strictly teaching. And we actually kind of touched on this when we were eating brunch earlier. Shout out to the brunch. Shout out to Meg's Cafe in Temple. It is delicious, but God bless, it is a lot of food.
Yeah.
But the difference between like teaching as a soldier, teaching as a what do we call it, artist? Yeah, artist, and then teaching as a fundamentalist. And I'm in the camp of the fundamental, where it's just like if you teach everything, like why this is the way it is and how you go about doing that will eventually get you to think more in depth about the music, as opposed to, like you were saying earlier, with the issue with a lot of the marching bands, and I'd share the same sentiment, is that they focus so much on that they don't understand why they can't do other things.
Like on the activity, per se. Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's not even so much, it's like, I don't know, everybody's only got so much time. And we've only got so many resources. And, you know, if you're fortunate to have a lot of resources at your disposal, then fantastic. But if you have what you have to work with. And so I think it's interesting that, like, you know, when the whole pandemic came in and everyone's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? on the one hand, yeah, like it's not just something that directors of like good. I don't like that word. I don't like that word talking about music. Really, really well organized and competitive, proficient bands. That's not just coming from the director's drive. Like the kids love it, you know.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing, and they want it. And you know, directors are trying to figure out, or we're trying to figure out, how do we still give this to our kids? How is this something that we can still make work? Because they really love it, and this is what we do, and it's a big culture thing. And in some cases, if your culture is really deep, like people are looking forward to that since maybe they're in elementary school. If they know that's what's coming,
They know what's
they
up.
have older
They have
siblings.
brother.
Yeah,
Who won state, and they're like, dang,
yeah.
I want to win state.
Yeah, they think it's like super cool. So you know, on the one hand, I totally sympathize, and you know, you're trying to give students this thing that they want and they are asking for so badly. On the other hand, I thought it was interesting that the first question that came up whenever everything kind of like went crazy was, oh no, how are we going to do marching band? Like how are we going to, or like maybe more like this. It seemed like the questions of how are we going to teach music and how are we going to teach a marching band were being equated as the same thing. And those aren't necessarily the same thing. Like right away, like immediately, as far as, okay, remote learning and teaching, what are your options? You can teach history. You can teach theory. You don't even have to teach theory in like a super academic context, right? You can teach, you know, if you want to do fundamentals, if you want to do improvisation, that's not just jazz. That's just, can you, on your instrument or whatever you've got in front of you, can you make music like from your head? We like don't work on that unless you're in a jazz context, right? Yeah,
jazz program,
and then it's kind of within those boundaries. Yeah. But as in terms of like, can you go home? And my dad would always say when I was practicing growing up, he's like, you know, I just kind of wish that, you know, it'd be nice to hear you. I just want to hear what you've got on your mind. Like I'd like to hear you just like play and just play what comes out. And as a middle schooler, I remember thinking like, what do you mean? Like, how do I know? How do I know which buttons to press? If I don't know what buttons to press, how am I supposed to?
I can't play music.
Yeah, how am I supposed to play music if I don't have like the sheet in front of me? Which now it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, dude, this sheet. That's not music. That's
all relative.
That's just somebody writing it down. Yeah. The music was here before it was there. Yeah. It can start here again. There's all kinds of opportunities that present themselves as ways that you can teach music. I don't know. It's like if we were, and I'm glad that directors and students are finding ways to make a workaround and are able to do things like put together shows like socially distanced. I'm glad that they're able to do work all from their homes and then calibrate it so that they can put something together maybe later or do something virtual. I think that's awesome. I'm really glad that we are able to do that. I also think that if, you know, there was some magic wand stipulation with this whole event, that there was no way to do it, like we'd be okay. Like it'd be fine if we didn't have marching band. It's the same thing that people say about football. If we didn't have football for 1 year, we'd be okay. You know, it's not like, oh, well, this kid's life is ruined now. We didn't get to have football in 2020, and now our children can never live up to their full potential. Like,
might as well just end the world.
Yeah, like what are we gonna do if we don't have that? It's like if you can't do marching band, competitively, not competitively, whatever it is. If you can't do any activity, you can be fine. Like we can change stuff. Now that being said, I understand that there are a lot of challenges associated with just going from things we've done for years and years, knowing how to do to do it on a screen with a whole group of people. Except not everybody can talk at once. And some kids can't play their instruments because their parents are working from home. Some kids don't have their instruments because it's up at the school and they're far away right now. Like, you know, I get that there's a lot of difficulties.
All percussionists.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be at the school if you're a student, especially. You've got to have it happen.
If you want to do anything that's not snare drum fundamentals.
Yeah. I just think that there is... If you see it and you recognize it, there is a lot of opportunity to teach and learn and engage with some of the more like creative parts of music education that before we might not have had time for. We might not have been able to get around to things like, hi, do you know how to write music? And it's amazing how many kids, in my head, it's crazy how many kids can read or like over 3 months learn all the notes for like an all-state etude and take it super meticulously and have someone point out every single rhythm and where the beats go. And then at the same time, I'm like, can you write this? And there's just...
What?
Sorry, can you do that again? It's like, yeah, for sure. There's multiple ways you can write that. I just want to know what you heard. I just want you to write it. And it's like deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
How in the world do I do that? I don't know. That's crazy to me. That's just a weird... I'm not saying that people need to be able to like, hear something once and a 14-year-old kid can transcribe it immediately. Yeah. I think that is teachable, but
it is.
But I,
everything
I'm not. Yeah.
To an extent, everything is.
Yeah.
Teachable,
I'm not saying that's
so
the goal, but it's wild that we have kids that are. They for sure they can play a full Maslanka symphony. They can memorize, a flute solo that was written in like 2015, and it's got all this extended technique stuff, and it's really gritty and super advanced. And they like can't sight read when we get to the contest room, and everyone spends like the minimal amount of time required to make sure that our sight reading is going to be okay at UIL, and then everything at the rest of it is going to be for whatever your contest pieces are. I don't know. It's like if it was the same with like a reading class, and I told a kid, "Hey, I need you to read me. Can you read this paragraph from this page?" And the kid was like, "I haven't practiced it yet." It's like, huh? I mean, I just thought you could read it for me. And they're like,
we taught you how to read, right?
Right. It's like, give me a week so I can like practice it, and then I'll come back and then I'll be able to read it. In your head, it's like, what I'm learning is that you can't read. That's what that just told me, which is okay. So let's get back to it. But we do the same thing with in music, and it's like, hey, can you sight read this? And they go, no. And you go, that's okay. Like, it's fine. Can you learn it in 4 months? Probably. Okay. All right. You can read it.
See you at the region audition.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that's and I get that's a nuanced conversation, but I don't know. Those are things that I see, and I'm like, now we have some time. Maybe those are things that we can experiment a little bit with. Maybe those are things that we can start allocating some of this weird, like, what am I supposed to do if I have this long with the kids and they can't do all these things they normally can? What can we do? Yeah, I mean, these are some options that present themselves.
We, at the high school level, where if marching band were I think Georgia just completely shut down for the entire year, right? Double check for that for me, because they had obviously they opened up their schools, and I think like 90 teachers got put into quarantine, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I guess we're going full year online. It's like, no high school director.
It was 260 students. Oh, no. Yeah, 260 students and 8 teachers quarantined in Georgia School District.
Jesus Christ.
After first week of school.
No way we could have saw that coming.
No. Wild how that works. Shout out to Matt Pale, who's going to start on Wednesday. See how that goes for him.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Go Greyhounds. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? This amount of downtime, right? So like, dudes in Austin and San Antonio doing that virtual band camp. So, still trying to have that sense of band camp feel. They started like maybe a week, 2 weeks ago. But even then, within that day, they're doing, some of those high schools are doing 12-hour days, and now they're doing 4. And a lot of those students and the directors are like, what do we do with this downtime? And then we go into the regular year, and you spend your time doing like the Veterans Day stuff. You throw that into the mix. You throw, the region auditions, jazz region auditions. That's like scattered throughout the year. But for August, September, October, and if it's a state year, November, going into December, like 5 months of one show. We know how to spend the time to where that's effective, but now there's a possibility where we have this 4.5, 5 months of not doing a show.
Right.
So,
yeah. So what do you do?
How are you effective with that time? Like I can, you know what I mean? Like I can throw the kids they do not understand how to do eighth notes into triplets back into eighth notes. Cool. We could do a warm up for 20 minutes on that. But the reason why I know they can't do that is because it's based off the music that I gave them. But now if there's not a show that I'm giving them,
you got to give them different music.
Got to give different music. What do you mean I have to give them different?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like, what do you mean it's not 7.5 minutes of a theme?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean I could give them an etude book and we could do other things?
You give them pop tunes.
You can give them pop tunes?
I mean, that's one thing some people were talking about, was going to more of a like conservatory kind of
Really?
style, where it's just like you just work on like excerpts and like small things.
Well, yeah, dude.
Like focus more on different skills rather than the knowledge of like your marching band show. You're just working on skills.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
I like part of that. I think my immediate gut reaction to that is, man, if these kids are home, we're in some of these school districts. I think Austin ISD just pushed back way further, and they
Did
applied.
they really?
Yeah. Like they're going to start, I think September 8th, like a lot of other places are.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's right.
And they
They were
applied
supposed
to do
to.
a month
supposed
more
to start
of online school. Yeah.
Oh.
But with that said, I feel like if I tell my kids, like I'm big on fundamentals, probably too much. I think way too much about the way that I play.
I don't believe there's anything as too much fundamentals.
I do.
That's me personally.
Sure, yeah. For me, I feel like I was way too in my head about how to do it, and then when it would come time to do it, I hadn't practiced it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, well, why does when I practice all this stuff, it's good, and then when I play it, it doesn't deliver. It's like, yeah, you didn't. I mean, yeah, practice your fundamentals for sure. Like, get your room in order, but you still gotta like know how to execute, also how to apply it to. And I think that if I was to go to the kids that I'm doing an online band camp right now, as just a trumpet teacher, and if I went and I said, hey everybody, guess what? I've got a full Arbins routine all the way through. It takes about 2 hours to get through. It's about 2 hours to get all the way through it. That's if you're moving. If you get stuck on something, it's okay. Maybe it takes a little longer. It's cool.
Add 30 minutes here and there.
Yeah. You can work on this forever. That should occupy your time. And I'm the student receiving that. Like, man, dude, Mr. Towns is boring. Mr. Towns really hates music. He really likes Arbins, and he really doesn't like playing.
That's fair.
Not that it's. I'm glad that maybe we can focus on some of those specific things more, but there is this kind of challenge of like, okay, how do I keep you engaged? One thing, a great benefit of, like a full semester where you have a very, very complicated like show you're working towards is that, it takes a long time to reach that goal.
Yeah.
And that there's like an end date to it. If I say, do this, you can work on it for this long for the rest of the semester, like that's it. There's nothing else. That at the end of it, there's not going to be some other than maybe like your skill development.
Yeah.
But there's no application that way to say, okay, now I can do this, and we set these things up. There's a blend of it. But yeah, I'm super in danger in my own practice all the time of like getting all my fundamentals lined up and having everything exactly the way I want, and I spaced it out. I plan my practice like I do like a gym journal. We talk reps, minutes. I put a timer on. It's an interval timer. When the timer beeps, put the horn down. It's super regimented. But if I do that and then I don't include, hey, like I'm working on a Chet Baker transcription. Hey, I'm going to also look at an etude from this book that I've never heard of. We'll look at like some characteristic studies or whatever. If I don't do that thing, then it's like, what's the point of the fundamentals?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I get what you're
tricky.
saying for sure.
Yeah.
It's you just the reason why I'm and poke holes in this. I've been trying to find somebody to poke holes in this. Is like there's no point in going on to the next thing if this thing doesn't actually function.
Okay, so what's the definition of function there? Like with what level of proficiency, I guess, does it take for you to like be functional?
So I mean, I'll just give you an example because I mean, on Friday that was our third week of band camp, and we were still doing about an hour plus of just running eighth notes at different tempos.
Sure.
Right, different tempos, different volumes, all that, and it's like, okay, the whole point of eighth notes is timing, making sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you. Is everybody hitting the drum the exact same way? Is everybody in time the exact same way? And are you moving the stick the correct way, like for your hands, to where that it's actually working and you're doing all those things right? Because if you don't do that, then we can't play the doubles exercise, which means we can't play that. You're not going to play the doubles exercise correctly, which means you're not going to be able to play the rolls correctly, which means that when we do get to show music, you're playing it, but you're not actually doing it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I think that, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but, so often I think that when we focus so much on fundamentals or like, whether a piece is like concert ready or not, or contest ready or whatever, we tend to put the like skill development or the level of musicality, whatever you want to call it, into a binary of either you're playing this right or you're playing this wrong. And in some cases, it's a lot closer to see like the practicality of that binary. If you're playing a piece that's tonal and you want the chords to be in tune, there is when the green thing comes on, and then there's when it's not. But even within that, to really really detailed parts, you even have creative choices there. Like, do we want to do this equally tempered? Do we want to do this with a pure temperament? Am I using, am I tuning them to a keyboard? Am I having them only listen? Are they only learning to like get in balance with each other by listening to the waves that they create and whether they line up or not? And I don't know, sometimes in certain pieces, like I personally, if it came to certain parts of it, like in pieces where there are these huge explosions of sound, or it's just everybody on a concert F playing this huge note and it's really climactic, I actually I don't want it to be super clean as an audience member, if I'm a contest judge. I should clarify, I'm not a band director. So maybe all this is hogwash. I should reiterate that. I do not have like a classroom that I teach.
Teach privately.
Yeah.
Up and down.
I just think
up and down
lot.
35.
Yeah. I think too much. But if I'm a contest judge, I might note that, say, hey, this is this chord wasn't as in tune as it is. But as an audience member, if it's gnarly and the effect that is supposed to be communicated it's just this super super metal gritty sound, and I get that, I'm not going to be as upset. That I might not even notice like, oh, it's kind of out of tune. I might just hear, all right, we're really pumping gas now. All that to be said, with the if it's not ready, then we can't move on to the next thing, because if we don't do this right, we won't do this right, then we won't play the piece right. I don't know. There's a threshold, right? Because it can always be better. Your patterns can always be more even.
Yeah.
You can always get it closer and closer to robotic or metronomic. You can always make it sound smoother. You can always balance your right and left volume so that it sounds like one continuous stream. I can always forever. I can play a G and work on the tone quality of that for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that because you can't fix it just like that.
Yeah.
I tried. That was basically my master's. Was me going, I just want to sound like it. It's like, it takes time. But I think because of that, because it's not something that you can fix, it's not like you fix it and you go, nice, cool,
Yeah.
let's go. There has to be an understanding a lot of times of where you set the threshold. And then even if you're moving forward, you would still say, we're always going to come back to this.
Yeah.
We're always going to come back to whatever exercise one is. That's not even music. I mean, that's in anything, right? If you're playing golf, like if you don't pay attention ever, you don't check your stance and you don't check your feet spacing, you don't check. I've never golfed either. If you, it just sounds methodical. It's it's what you see in like.
I thought you were gonna go with putting. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
No, I don't know any of that.
You need to practice your putt.
You just see it in magazines,
Yeah.
how to improve your golf swing. And it's like, I guess this is important. I guess a lot of people really want to know this in the middle of their magazine.
I've been meaning to start golfing since. I don't know. Do you feel like you need to know? No?
No.
I feel like I need to know how to golf. I don't know why.
That
I feel
impulse has never come over me at all.
I don't know why.
I've never felt it.
Maybe it's just because I drive by a golf course every day.
Yeah.
It might be.
Might be.
Yeah. Seems nice. I don't have that time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's relaxing. I want to see if it is relaxing. I don't know if anything's relaxing.
Well, so right, like if you go golf and you're doing it for fun and you're like, yeah, I want to do it well, but also I like golfing, right? And then you're about to golf and someone goes, hey, watch your feet. You go, okay. And you might set it up and like, okay, you can go now. And then you golf. I'm like, thanks, man. And then you go to the next thing and you're about to golf again and like, hey, can you, you're a little far away from the tee, like a little further maybe you should be. That swing's not going to be great. There's a difference between like helpful advice to get you to the next thing and, hey, you shouldn't golf because your feet aren't ready. Hey, man, like maybe I want to golf.
That's fair. Okay.
There's again, it's a balance thing. It's a
weird.
Yeah, I don't want to put that into a binary either. I don't want to put it into like, hey, everybody should just be able to do what they want all the time. That kid wants to play trumpet, just give him a trumpet and let him blow. Like, I don't think that should be the case either, because maybe one of them just figures out something really cool. But maybe they like mess their lips up really, really bad, or get some terrible habit, with their throat or whatever they got.
Yeah.
But I don't know, kind of, I don't know. I think it's important when I'm trying to teach to say, we're going to do this and you're going to keep doing it, and I need you to not get caught up on maybe certain deficiencies that you have. Be aware of them, work on them, but if you can't spend all your time there, because if you spend all your time there, then we're never going to get to the thing that you do really, really well. We're not going to get to the thing that we're probably waiting for anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe you bring a deficiency of any skill set up to a point where it's, like you said, functional, and it's kind of figure out where is the point of like functional versus it just doesn't work. And then from functional to like perfect, you want to try to keep
Some
going up there.
Heavy quotes on that. Because don't forget, we're on Spotify now. And
Apple
podcasts.
I think you might be able to hear my voice.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
You hear the
Just
quotes in the
to
voice.
extra clear.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, because that word,
It's a dirty word.
Perfect doesn't exist.
It's a dirty word.
Yeah,
I like it.
It doesn't. Good and bad doesn't exist in music and art. And I think it's easy to condition for like music because we have a pretty strong understanding of what we hear most and what we don't hear. But if you change it, you go to something like you go to a museum.
Yeah.
And I'm looking in. Maybe there's a living artist who has some exhibition that's going on at the museum, and they work primarily with I work with sandpaper. Everything I do is sandpaper, and not like I use the sandpaper. Like my art is made of sandpaper. I take different tones of. I'm just making something up.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right.
I could get behind it.
And none of it is like. It's not stills. It's not anything that resembles anything in life. It is incredibly abstract. It is the way I feel, and this is my medium that I work with. Even if you don't like it, even if you love it, you don't go up and look at the art and go, "That is incorrect." nope, that painting's wrong. That's a wrong painting. Like, what?
That's fair.
Yeah, if I heard someone do that, I'd go, man, you don't seem cool at all.
I don't think you get art.
Yeah, like I do not want to do that. But with music, we do that all the time. All the time.
Okay. I agree. Let that be clear. But if you were told to draw a line and you drew a squiggly, no, that's still technically correct. It's a line. If you're told to draw a straight line and you drew a squiggly line, you didn't fulfill the request.
Was that the intention?
All that to say, Maslanka wrote Symphony Number 5 with a certain intention.
Yeah, of course.
So there's a clear, like, you either played Maslanka 5 or you didn't.
So if I miss a note when I'm playing Maslanka, does that mean I didn't play it? Does that ruin the whole performance? Is like, dude, I wish I came here to see you play Symphony. I think it's 4 is the big one. The one that gets played a lot is the big one.
Yeah.
I've never heard 5. I should do that.
It's just as aggressive.
Yeah, I know 4 and 8.
And I mean, it's Maslanka. Shout out.
Yeah, it's great. You just know what you're gonna hear. Yeah. I know that. I've seen this one before. Yeah. But I think that's a big part of it too. If I go and it's like, oh man, they were gonna play Maslanka 4 and I was so pumped, and they almost played Maslanka 4, but they didn't get that quadruple forte all the way up to the decibel count, and oh man, they came so close to playing Maslanka 4. Like there's a point. Of course, there's a point where you're like, that's not what that is.
Yeah.
But where is that line? Because that line isn't.
That's what I was leaning towards. It's like, yeah, you can what high school did Maslanka 4?
That was Vandergrift.
Vandergrift.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like when they first did it, it was probably not super clean, but they did it. You know what I mean? They played it top down, and it was, it was probably full of holes and it was super rough, but like they attempted to play all the right notes, all the right rhythms that Maslanka had intended.
Sure.
As opposed to like the kids individually taking artistic liberties with it, right?
Yeah.
I think, and honestly, I did the back and forth with the percussion section a lot this week, because like I said, we legitimately spent an hour on making sure that like you're moving your hands correctly.
Sure,
but then we go inside and we did region music, and we were doing the 2-mallet etude, and I was like, dynamics are relative and it's all kind of made up. So it says forte, so that just means kind of get loud. So whatever, but whatever you say the loud is, you just have to be consistent with that.
Yeah. I think that even then, we just look at music. I think we've gotten used to looking at music in a educational sense in a really limited way.
That's fair.
How many times I've had it several times, and different composers and different pieces, but like whenever someone would fly out, like in college, or we had several people come visit when I was at Frost to like watch and oversee the rehearsals of certain pieces that were premiering or whatever. And most of the time, I remember we were playing a piece by a guy named George Lewis, and he does like, very, very new avant-garde. I had to learn how to do multiphonics because it was in it. And I was like, I've never had to do that. Didn't think I was going to be asked to do that. Thought it was like a cool trick. Turns out I need to learn. And there was some stuff in the piece that I couldn't learn. Not in the time that we had to rehearse it. But he came in, and it's a lot of ethereal things. It is a lot of some really fast technical like you were dealing with like microtones in certain points. We're not even in chromatic music at certain parts of this. And I remember a friend of mine was doing I think it was either the oboe or it was the like soprano sax part of something, and he's incredible, and he is really struggling to get all the notes that this guy wrote and get it there, and he's fighting it so hard to make it happen. And the composer's sitting over there, and he goes, "Hey, yo, it just sounds square, you know. It just sounds square. Can you just mess it up, man? Like, just mess it up." And he went, like you want a little dirtier? He goes, the notes don't matter there. I wrote it that way because it needs to sound like angry. It needs to sound aggressive. And I didn't think that people would be able to play it. And thank you so much for like working on it. But the whole point is that it's just this like nasty, gnarly, you know, he's doing like getting the whole saxophone to like, no, maybe he's on bass, maybe he's on clarinet. I can't remember what it was. He's getting, you know, the reed and he's singing at the same time and like 3 or 4 notes at once, and it sounds like harsh. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, and this is why I think it's really important that kids be able to, the musicians be able to write in some capacity, is that when you're on the other end of that, you end up realizing that for certain effects or certain intentions that you want to come across, you might write something knowing or intending like the performer probably won't do this thing, or the performer, we see it in marches all the time when you have like the whole note and then there's an 8th note tied into the next bar.
Yeah.
They don't want that length. They don't want like 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't want that. They're just saying, hey, please don't breathe early. I put that there so that you don't breathe early. But if we look at that and we go, okay, he wants everybody, digga, 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 and it, oh, hey, you were a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Hey, stop. Oh, you were 1/16 note shorter. It's like that's there so that he's just saying,
just breathe right.
Please don't break this phrase.
Yeah.
So all that to be said, there's just like I keep saying that. There are
It's fine. I repeat myself constantly.
Yeah. You've got episodes and episodes.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
There is an intention that if we're not keeping an eye out for, and we're not keeping an eye out for, why did you write it this way? Why are there no dynamics from this point to this point? Is it because you're lazy and you're bad and you wanted to make a lot of money, so you wrote this cool band piece?
Yeah.
Or is it because you want it to be really, really interpretive? Do you want it completely stale? There's different things. If you don't give me directions specifically, then personally, I am going to take it upon myself to look for where I think it's going to go, right? If you give me super, super specific directions, sometimes I might even think that you're overreaching a little bit. There's, you know, it's like we have all this really, really great music from 100, 200, 300 years ago, all by these old dead white dudes, and people are so strict about certain parts of the playing. Yeah. And some of that is about directions the composers gave. Some of that is about you know, a certain tradition that maybe they're coming from, or that like this is how my teacher played it, who they took it with a teacher, and this person studied with the guy who wrote it and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, if it's all covers, if all we're doing is just covers of old dead white music, like, tell me why yours is a good cover. Tell me why I should listen to your cover of it. And you don't necessarily even have to change the notes for that.
Yeah.
But there's all these options that I feel like aren't communicated to say, hey, play with this, take a risk, do it twice. If you perform this more than once, perform it differently each time. Like, see what the reaction is, see what you like more or less. And it's kind of communicated a lot of times as, you do it this way, and you do it this time, and if it's not like that, then you're wrong. And the whole point of band is to be right. Now have fun.
I mean, like, I kind of went to a school that was kind of based on what I call band science. Like, everything was just like, it's either this way or it's the wrong way. Like, there's only it's the North Texas way. But there was only one way to do certain things, and that kind of I don't know if it ruined music for me a little bit, but it kind of made it like not as it just made it not as fun. Like
Sure.
there wasn't
Yeah,
as,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
many emotions you can put to it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a solo trumpet piece called Krill, which is notoriously difficult. You like do things like you pull slides out of the instrument and like play through that, and you know you like scream as you play. So you're going back and forth, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And whenever like when you go and you search it on YouTube, I'm never convinced of the piece by people who seem like they're thinking about it too much. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a hard piece. There's a whole manual for how to play it.
Really?
But the ones, there's a recording that I really like. There's two that are really good. But there's a video of a guy named Brian McWhorter who plays it, and he is just in it. Like, you can tell he is fully embodying what the character of this entire thing is. I have no clue if he messes up. He probably didn't. It's recorded, and you know it's very high quality. He probably did. Maybe he did several takes. I don't know. You're allowed to do that, but you know, at no point was I like, excellent technique. I might think it in the end like that's really hard to do. But more than anything, I'm listening to this piece that if he didn't embody all of this character, if I couldn't feel like you almost hear shades of like light and dark in the way that he plays. You get this kind of visual sense from the audio. That's hard to do. That's a super, super committed way of playing. And whenever you look at other YouTube, you know, people do like recital, like doctoral or artist diploma recitals of this piece. I don't want to listen to it because they look like they're in pain. Because they look like they're playing it going, holy crap. Oh, please don't mess up. Good grief, this is hard. And it's like, if you're only playing it because it's hard, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. I'd rather you play something that
You care about.
Yeah, I'd rather you play something that at the end of it I go, hey, you said something, and I'm really glad you said something because I got a lot of emails to check, and I could have jumped on them, but you were talking, you were saying, hey, like look at me, I'm telling you something right now. This is important, and if you miss a note while you're telling me something important, I'm still listening. I'm gonna go, oh, okay, is he gonna recover? Did he come back? Oh, he's on it. Okay, cool. I'm still engaged. I'm still writing. I don't know. That's a whole other side of this thing that is, I would love to see more kids be involved in. I guess.
I wonder. I'm toying with this idea, and I would like to talk to another percussionist about this. Like have the same conversation. But I hear everything you're saying, and for whatever reason, like I'm just able to compartmentalize those things separately. And maybe it's because as a percussionist we have the multitude of different instruments, and like a marching snare drum is intended for like
marching.
Right, like that's like
makes sense.
You're that the intention of that drum is precision, ideally, right? Like they're just like
short, loud, gets across the field.
Exactly. And you're gonna play it with up to 8 other dudes, and everybody needs to hit it at the same time, because if you don't, it's so short and crisp, it's gonna sound awful. So, but then you get into solo marimba literature as opposed to marching band literature, and there's still that level of compartmentalization. And then you're talking about like all the different feel things, like that does, but that goes across like the feel, you know, like what was it was 2018 Crown, the Beast show. Yeah, that show is so damn fun to watch because all those dudes are angry as hell.
Well, because I mean, I guess a lot of instrumentalists or musicians, you know, vocalists. Well, actually, vocalists more than anything, is kind of this way. But with percussion, it's a visual art,
very much,
just as much as it is auditory. Yeah. It's really hard to, even for, you know, if I put on a recording on Spotify of a world class percussionist playing like Xenakis, I might get bored.
Yeah.
And it's just because, if it's 13 minutes long, I get that with a lot of instruments. But if it's that, and I'm hearing the exact same tone over and over again, that's totally different than sitting in front of somebody and watching them do it and seeing what their hands are doing. That adds so much. So yeah, there's a whole visual component to it also.
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that's how much does that play into the part? How much does the fact that we have the multitude of instruments play into a part of that?
Yeah.
For like the way because I agree with everything you're saying, but then I'm like, yeah, but marching band's marching band, and I don't know if that's like as a percussionist or if that's as a dude that grew up in Texas marching band, or if that's as a dude that grew up in Texas marching band as a percussionist. Like, I don't know.
I think it's just he was a musician. Yeah. So let me backtrack a little bit. It's not like fundamentals aren't worth much and we shouldn't spend as much time on them. That's not that at all. Obviously, the amount of control that you have over whatever medium you're working with will directly impact your ability to execute it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess in my head, like, if you're going to sit down and practice a piece of music, brand new, you get out in front of you, what's the first thing you do when you get that piece of music out and you're about to play it or about to start practicing it? Or maybe what you tell your students to do.
Do I have... Can you give me a little bit of a steeper context?
Yeah, sure. So for the let's just talk about the All-State Etudes, right?
Okay.
So you got your kids. They're going to look at the All-State Etudes for the first time. We're going to look at them either in a sectional. Maybe let's even simplify it a little more. It's a one-on-one. It's you and a private student. We're not even going to do the whole group thing. What is the process that they should go through from first beginning? I'm looking at it to what they should be able to do at the audition.
Well, I've got for sight reading, I have give my students 5, like, here's the 5 things that you should do with like when you first get a piece of music if you're sight reading it.
Yeah.
If it's in etude, I only do 2 of the 5, and the first 2 time signature, key signature, and then after that, make sure you understand like what those 2 things mean. Do the scale. So this year's region 2 Mala Etude is in the key of D. So it's like I spend a lot of time like making sure, like, do you actually know what the key means? Like, what does that mean? What is? And then this year, like, a lot of kids, they didn't really know what C meant. And I was like, common time.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys, and then I was kind of taken back. I was like, you guys never came across that? And I thought about it, like, I never wrote it in any of my music.
Yeah.
Most of these kids are, freshmen, sophomores.
Most people don't know what the numbers mean.
Yeah. And
because it's kind of a bad, confusing system, but whatever.
It is what it is. I like to think I've figured out a way to teach it effectively.
Yeah. If you learn it, you can learn it. It's fine. It's just like six, I'm gonna rant now. Like 6/8. It's like, man, okay, so you have 8th note gets the beat, and there's 6 8th notes. Like, dude, never in 6/8 does 8th note get the beat. You get 2 groups. You go, the dotted quarter note is getting the beat.
Yeah.
If you're talking about what beat is, you're talking about, it's like the 8th note doesn't get the beat. But then you have to tell kids, like, what note gets the beat? The 8th note? Right. Okay, can you count it? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. No. You're no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they're like, but I thought the 8th note gets the beat. And it's like, I don't know.
It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Learn music.
8th note gets the beat, but feel it in 2. Okay? Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. Anyways. Sorry. So process of how they work from a new piece beginning, right?
So then, if it was a one-on-one situation, I'd be like, all right, let's give it a listen. Like, pay attention to it. As we're listening to it, follow through in the music. Like, what did actually, even before that, I still stand by this. Like, just look through at the music and look for something that you don't know what it means. Let's talk about that. Like, this book, it comes from a think it's either a flute book. I don't know what. It's a lot of Haydn stuff. So it's for violin.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So a couple notes have TR over it, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, trill. What? It means you roll it diatonically. The next note up. They're like, what's diatonically mean?
Yeah.
Next note in the scale. Why didn't you just say that? I don't know, because some white dude told me that's what that means.
Yeah.
And then probably after you familiarize yourself with like the entirety of like what's on the page, then give it a listen. Then just go bar by bar after that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have recently, probably in the past year, tried to.
Oh, excuse me. So sorry.
That felt good.
It felt good.
Maybe let me say it like this. For a really long time, I was always in the camp just because I think it's how I was taught of like, okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to figure out the mechanics of it. You're going to figure out, okay, look for accidentals, look for, make sure you're counting right, make sure you, do like a air pattern over it, just fingering and letting air blow through the horn or something without actually playing the notes. Then take it super slow. Make sure that before you play it all the way up to tempo, you're starting, 30-40% slower. If you need to go slower than that, do that. Bump it up incrementally. We're focusing on articulation, all this stuff. And I've realized that, for me at least, but I talk with more people, people who weren't in like our kind of band system. A lot of people that like grew up with like Suzuki method for string instruments, right?
Yeah.
And piano. And it's like, well, if the first thing I can do when I see like written music is I can sing it in my head, and I can just look at it and go, and they can do that. Most of what they would have covered or tried to like get a hold of individually, incrementally with the fundamentals, if they can look at it and hear it by what they're looking at, they can immediately
skip a bunch of steps.
Yeah, and it's not that you wouldn't work on all the fundamentals as you go through, but when you start with, what does this sound like? What is this going to end up being? What's this piece about? If it's not about something, I bet if I make up something for it to be about, I will play it with more direction than otherwise. Yeah, than just thinking like, Dr. Ippolito always was annoyed by like mezzo piano as a dynamic marker. He's like, that's just what people put when they feel like I need to give a dynamic marking, but I don't want it to be that loud, but it doesn't need to be soft, so probably neutral. So mezzo piano over time becomes like, well, that's your neutral.
Yeah.
That's your neutral mark. But that doesn't tell you anything about the kind of sound. If you put like dolce, then okay, maybe it's sweetly. If you put a lot of detail, or even if the words aren't there, if I'm making a lot of detail and I can sing it in my head and go, what does it sound like? From the very first note that I play, the very first fundamental that I start to isolate, I have a completely, maybe not a completely built, but a very, very clear image of what I'm going for from the get-go. What I find is that, and I used to have this huge frustration with a lot of older students, especially at the high school level, was that we would work on all the fundamentals and we would do everything in the checklist, and then they would play it, and then I'd say, can you make it more like this? And they'd go, sure. And then they'd play it the exact same way. Yeah. And it's like, well, of course you can play it. We've been practicing it with no idea of what the end goal is supposed to sound like for over and over again. Like you can look at a Shostakovich score and do all those things and get all the notes right, and then play it and never heard it in an audition or play it for somebody, and they go, that didn't really sound like Shostakovich. You're like, what do you mean? And then you listen to a real orchestra play it, and you go, oh, that's what you want that to sound like? Okay, well, if I knew that, I would have done it. If I knew you wanted me to like super, super hardcore just blast in some of these parts, and I knew that was okay, then I would have done it. But we're not. I don't know. It seems like we tend to not begin with, "Hey, like, what's the point?" You know what I mean? Like, why do you?
Yeah.
Like, if the point of this, even if you're like auditioning for stuff, past that, the point is that maybe you go to Team EA if you're doing all state and you play a concert. The point of the concert is not that you get all the notes and the rhythms right. That's cool. You should do that. Like,
Yeah.
you should try.
You're supposed to be the best musician.
Yeah,
in Texas, so you should be able to play the notes.
Yeah,
and
you
rhythms.
should be proficient for sure. But more than anything, and man, I hear it. I heard it this year with the high school honor band that won. They did Pines of Rome at the end.
That's right.
And honestly,
Yeah.
man, I was sitting there, and at the end, they brought like all these extra like adults on stage to play
Yeah.
with them, and I was still sitting there going, "Man, you know how big this hall is? Man, y'all could have gone for it."
Yeah.
I felt like you guys just stayed in the box, and yeah, like it was clear and it was pretty, but this is Pines, man. This is Pines.
Get after it.
Yeah, you need like blood pumping through your whole body, super, super like visceral. And in that moment, at the end of their whole concert, I don't care if they get out of like, I don't care if you kind of get a little bit of edge in the sound. I don't care if something comes through and it's like, whoa, somebody went for it, and you could hear like a and it didn't quite make it, but I felt that energy come through. And that's an opinion of mine. I'm sure there are people who are like, no, like I never want to hear that sound ever come out of a trombone ever, and that's totally fair. Neither one is correct.
Yeah.
Like neither one is right or wrong. There's just preferences, and people are going to have different preferences.
It is frustrating that the world of music, it has. Would you say more so than any other fine art has kind of like become binary?
I don't know. Where are all the fine arts?
Just about. I mean, like art, you can still like create stuff.
Yeah,
but it's
like you
hey,
said, you can just my medium sandpaper doesn't make any sense, but that's what I did. Nobody could really say it's wrong. You could say you don't like it, but it's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if we had a band contest where it's like, hey, play an original piece of music that an original piece that you wrote.
Yeah.
We don't have a composition contest in band. Like we don't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this earlier today.
Yeah.
I think it'd be super cool to do, and maybe there's some schools that already do this.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
There's got to be.
Yeah, huge state, huge country.
That doesn't feel like that original of an idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
no
man.
disrespect, but like,
Man, Marcus heard me talking earlier today, and he goes, "Man, that's an old idea."
also a garbage person that likes to.
No. No, but I think it would be cool in another world where I am a band director. I gotta stop talking mess because I don't have a band. I have kids to teach. Not that way, but I think it would be super cool in a middle school or a high school setting, or whatever way would allow it. That even in an elementary school setting, honestly, where you kind of have the way that an art show operates, kind of like an exhibition style. Hey. We have, even if it's extracurricular at first, like an after school once a week thing of all the kids come into the band hall. This is a completely like experimental zone. I think, what did I say earlier? Like a sound lab was kind of the word I used. We can work with electronic media, which is what most music is made on anyways today. That's way more relevant. Yeah. I love band. I love trumpet. I love classical music and all that stuff. But like that's what is being listened to. That's the way we listen to stuff. Yeah.
What's around you.
And like to have that, to be able to go and pick up other instruments, to be able to look for and experiment with different sounds on certain instruments. Look at this kind of clicking thing I can get. If I blow air through my trumpet and I push the valves down, the air changes tone. Can we use that? Yeah. Remember that. Write that down. And we'll figure out a way to put that in. And then at the end of the year, or multiple times throughout the year, you have these like, okay, there's like punch and cookies at the front door. Parents, families, come through. The community, come through. All our kids are going to be here giving basically like an exhibition of what they've been working on and experimenting with. And that's just in addition to the band. That's in addition to marching practices. That's in addition to all the other stuff they're doing. But there's this entire component of this creative aspect that is really powerful and can be directly applied like to their concert band and stuff. He passed away recently, Eddie Green, big name in the Texas band world, especially. Yeah, rest in peace. And one of the things that really stuck out to me whenever we were reading his book in college was he talked about how he always just told his kids in the concert band setting, like, there's different sounds. You go listen to one band, and I'd go drive somewhere else and listen to another band. And he just spent all his free time as this young single dude out in West Texas just driving around, listening to different bands. And it wasn't like this was the best and this was wrong. It was, these are different sounds. This band played it like this. This band plays it with this kind of sound, or the volume's different, or, they sit in a different way. And he just took note of it. And when you carry that over, of course you want kids to play the right notes and rhythms. But I also want to be able to have, I want them to be able to have options. I want them to be able to say, let's try it this way. Do you like that? What do y'all like better? Hey, everybody back there. Hey, other directors, like, what do you like? I don't know. Try it this way. Do something different. What if we did this? Crazy idea. What if we staged it a totally different way? These are parts of that process that can get, we might never get to. It's not that people wouldn't want to teach them, but we might not move on to it if people go, your eighth notes still aren't quite clean. It's like, I get that, but they might not. There might be nothing we can do about that right now. That might take a year to get that done. What we can do right now is additionally make some creative decisions in addition to the hard fundamental work that we are working on and that we're trying to get going. So,
no, man,
Sound Lab TM, it's mine. It's mine.
No, I definitely think it'd be cool, and I think
even though it's not an original idea.
I'm right. Am I wrong to say
I mean, it's not like an original idea, but it's definitely like something I feel like could be more like implemented. Like,
yeah.
Do you know somebody doing it?
I didn't say it.
Somebody take my trademark.
That's what me and my friends actually did in high school. But we did that, but right before football. It was just me and two guys that ended up being one's a band director, one's a composer.
Yeah.
But we would just sit before a football game. We just play and improvise, and I was playing saxophone. We had a bassoon and a bass clarinet. It sounded so weird and odd. We were just like, let's just have fun and make music.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a whole different world being creative.
Yeah.
Being right.
And one of the things I enjoy out here with what we do in Temple is we have so many freaking revenues for music, but I mean, composition, I think naturally is one that just kind of, it's hard to,
I think people don't know how to teach it.
Quantify. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've got the marching band, all the concert bands, jazz band. I started the salsa band, the brass band. Duran started the combo. I did the indoor drumline program.
Yeah.
There's so many different avenues of musicianship to be played here. And even as somebody who writes the music for the marching band, maybe it's because I am busy teaching the 5 other ensembles.
It's a lot of, it's a ton of time.
I actually had a kid last year. He was like, can I write a drum lick? And I was like, write it. If it makes sense, I'll put it in. Never got it to me.
Sure.
But I was like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's funny how students will usually occupy the spaces that you give them.
Yeah.
And if there isn't a space for it, then there isn't much of an occupation of that space.
Yeah.
But if you open it up, then it's like, well, it's here, so we'll do it, even if it's small. And it's not like, if a school said, hey, okay, we can do this, but we have to cut, out the marching season. Like, that's not good either.
Yeah.
This isn't like a, wow, this is good and this is what everybody needs, and what we do is terrible and stinks. It's nothing like that. You learn so much as far organizationally. You learn a ton about discipline. You get a physical education.
I think
you get all of these really incredible tools through like organized
Yeah.
organized band that they will continue to use whatever they do continuing forward.
To pause you,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
marching band is more about teaches you more about like being a person than it does about being a musician.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, can you just stand still?
Can you just for 2 minutes?
2 minutes, just stand there. I know that there's sweat dripping down your throat, neck,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was gonna go with nose, and then somehow it ended up at throat.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it's okay.
But yeah, it's sweat dripping down your face, the horns in your hands. You just got done repping 4 minutes of the show. Can you just have the mental fortitude to just like stay there?
Yeah.
And then that translates into like, I don't have a backup for that.
No, but I mean,
That translates into
just
like normal
yeah,
human life.
that's
Like,
just a
can you
useful
do
skill, yeah.
this right now without having any instant gratification?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, can
it's
you?
it's a great thing.
Focus on this one thing.
Yeah.
Can you? The thing that I'm trying to really get across this year is mindfulness in being a musician. It's like, are you actually paying attention to what it is you're doing, or are you just doing it? Are you present in the moment? Because again, eights can get really mundane, but you haven't played it clean yet. So, what are you thinking about? Like, are you? Because I've given you, like, this is my third year. Everybody here, except for the kid that just moved in, has heard me say something at least for one whole year, if not two, of like, this is the information. Why are you still not applying that? Like, I've given you everything that I possibly can, and some of you are doing it, and y'all are doing great. Others aren't, because you're just not willing to think about the things that you're supposed to when you're doing this. And the experiment I did to aid with that was, I was like, okay, maybe maybe there's just too much information. Okay. Which there is, but
absolutely.
As any musician goes, it's like there's like a running list of like 50 things in your mind as you're playing something, and it gets like, it's really easy to get bogged down with that.
It's a whole other skill to practice.
It's a whole other skill to practice. So maybe that's my fault for not practicing that skill for you. Okay, what's one thing that I've told you that you aren't doing right? This beat forward turnaround. Okay, just focus on that. I know the exercise is 20 seconds long and that turnaround happens twice. Whatever. Just focus on that. I know you got other things to worry about. But do that. And I just went down the line for each kid. And I was just like, okay. We repped it like 3-4 times. Did it get better? Yes. Cool. Next thing. Add it on. And like, we did it, I think 2 or 3 times, where I just went down the line, like, pick one thing that you're not doing correctly and do that. Focus on making sure that's done correctly. And I was like, cool. Did the entire thing get better? Yes. Why? Because you were just like you're present in the moment. You're focusing on something that you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it got better.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing that every single time? I think that's the functionality of marching band, is like just teaching the mental fortitude of like, it is tiring to think, but you need to think.
Yeah. I go back. I don't know. I feel like we're being like super nerds here about all this, which is fine. No,
me and Evan broke down. What's the one that we're gonna do? What's the
What are you talking about?
We did a movie episode where we just talked about
gotcha.
what we thought was the importance
That's great.
of individual movies. We're nerds out here.
Yeah,
and the
that's
people
great.
that listen to this are just bored. Or they're nerds as well. So,
Awesome. Hey, everybody.
welcome.
No, with like thinking when you're playing, I think a lot when I play.
Yeah.
I think a ton ton when I play. I hate that. It does not serve me as a performer to think.
It does not.
As a practicing musician, maybe sometimes I'm keeping tabs of how a lot of technical things feel, or if I really want to shift my focus just to how I think it sounds, right? There's a lot of like brain power to push the other stuff out and focus it in. But as a performer, that whole like super busy thinking mind, hey, make sure your lips are close enough together. Hey, make sure, is your throat open enough? Like, are you breathing with like a full cavity? Like all this stuff. I do not want that. I do not want that in my head when I'm on stage. Do not want that in my head when I'm playing in a lesson. I do not want that in my head when I am like teaching, and I'm personally demonstrating. And sometimes it doesn't, but for a lot of the time, I think out of habit, it gets to this point where I really haven't internalized. I didn't internalize the music. I internalized the thought process, and now I'm put in a position where people are like, we want to hear the music. It's like, you're about to see on my face a whole bunch of like ding, 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 all these things about what I'm trying to think about in the moment. When teaching fundamentals, it is increasingly important to me, at least, to try to like keep the thinking part of it out. Like, yeah, can I look at somebody and go, hey, I think you need to bring your aperture's a little bit too big, is what it sounds like. It sounds like there's too much air leaking through. I need you to bring it a little bit closer together. And then also, when you breathe in, I want you to breathe in like keep an O in your mouth. And then I want you to do that. And then I want you to simulate that and imagine that whenever you're breathing through the sides of your mouth. Like, I could say all that.
Yeah.
The kid, anybody, not the kid, anybody's going to go, geez, all right. Okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to, and all of a sudden, what was coming out on the other end of the bell, where their brain might have been, is like all here.
Yeah.
And maybe for a little bit, if we're doing like really, really specific diagnostic work, like there's a problem and I, as a teacher, can't figure out exactly what's going on, maybe we get a little technical with it. But if we don't have to, man, do I not want to put more of that stuff in their head so that it adds to like the running ledger of ding, 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 of all these things when they're practicing or when they're playing. Because that's what I did. That's what happened to me. I just could not stop thinking about how to fix my playing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I haven't given a care in the world whether or not I was making music or not, or whether or not what I played was something that communicated whatever I was supposed to. Yeah. I had no intention about it as far as like, okay, what is this about? What am I trying to give the impression of? Is it vague? Is it super specific? Is it like a kind of feeling or emotion? That needs to be where the drive comes from and what I return full circle to at the end. In the middle, where I'm doing all the nitty gritty, cleaning it up, getting everything set up, like absolutely, I'm thinking about, okay, maybe I need a little more compression, maybe something like that. But in the beginning, if I start off like that, I almost never, I don't think I've ever started that way and then come around full circle to, all right, now I can sing. Now I can play it like that sweet swan song that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's like, and then I yet put it up and my brain's like, make sure your lips are close enough together. Like,
breathe.
Yeah. I a good friend of mine, we had open lessons at, so, we could sit in on each other's lessons and stuff, which is really good. All the people, so many that were in the trumpet studio in Miami were just like really, really excellent players. People that either have jobs now, like or professional orchestra jobs, or had jobs previously and are back on the cert. All these kinds of things. And they were super nice. And I remember a good friend of mine, we were sitting in on a lesson that I had, and he only caught like the last 20 minutes. He didn't even see the whole thing. And then we left, and we're walking to get some coffee, and he goes, Do you think a lot when you play, right? Like a lot. And I went, yeah. Could you see it? He goes, yeah. Like you're playing and the way your eyes look, it just looks like your brain is having 7 conversations with the rest of your body, just like nonstop all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But if you don't ever, address that might be coming from a place of it needs to be right. It needs to be fixed before I can get to that thing. It's kind of hard to get out of that mindset until you give yourself a little bit of forgiveness. You give yourself a little bit of space to say, you know what? I'm just going to try to get this to sound. Let me think of a really specific word that maybe goes with this piece. Daydreamy. Maybe I could get even more specific than that. Well, no, maybe not. If it comes to you, then you do that and then go, I'm just going to try to make it sound daydreamy. And you record it and you listen back, and no matter what, with little blips and stuff aside, it's like, did it sound like what I told myself it should sound like? And sometimes, we talked about like the threshold earlier. Yeah. Maybe the threshold of like proficiency is, okay, it would have sounded daydreamy, but you cracked so many notes, like I couldn't get that image in my head. And at some point, there's like, okay, you can crack this many notes and it still kind of sounds daydreamy. We'll work on that, but like it's there at least, right? That kind of mindset puts you in a place of, okay, I'm working towards like a product. I'm working towards this thing. And even if it's not perfect, air quotes perfect, by the end of that, can I still communicate that message? I might have to, because there's a date and there's a concert and there's stuff going on. And maybe I'm equipped in other ways as a musician to bring that out, even if my deficiencies are still things that I'm working on. So like, there's this whole like running through all the stuff and making sure that you've got everything in your checklist set up and that you're constantly aware of it. I think if that's not internalized in a simple take that and turn it into doing one thing, if it kind of remains in this individualized analytical mode, it's really difficult to get to that effortless, seamless interpretation of doing something otherwise. I remember we were at the National Trumpet Competition like years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago or something. I was still at Texas State, and some high school kid got up and played a piece called the Tomasi Concerto, which is pretty difficult. Yeah. It's like standard rep for us. Yeah, it's pretty difficult.
I'm mad that I know it.
Well, you hung out with us all the time.
I know more about trumpet and trombone than I probably like. I think I know more about solo literature, trumpet and trombone than I do about percussion, and that's a little troublesome.
Ooh, that's okay. Yeah, you're a band director.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Come in when it comes in.
But I remember band, but like solo literature, gets a little fuzzy.
Yeah, this high school kid in the high school division came up and was going to play it. I was like, pretty tough piece, and he played it. And there's this there's a lick at the beginning which is notorious for this kind of not they're uncommon intervals, and it's kind of got a little bit higher note at the top. It's like, buddy, and he played it and he missed the top note and played it, I don't know, maybe a full whole step or maybe a little bit more than that lower. And he played it, and I legit was like, that was like the prettiest miss note I've ever heard. And like everybody knows that piece.
Yeah.
And you're in a room of trumpet players, and he plays it and misses it. And I remember sitting and going like, that sounded nice. I'm not even mad he missed it. It was just so pure. Yeah. It was so, buddy. And it was, even if he did that and it had that same sound, I was still in. I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm still in this.
See what you got from there, dog.
Yeah, for sure. He could have hit that note and it been, and I might have gone, that's rough. Like, that's fine. I was almost more impressed that he missed it and it sounded that nice. So there's a total, what's the word in marching band? General effect goes a long way with that kind of thing.
It does. Yeah. You pulled something up?
Yeah, the whole thing you were talking about kind of reminded me of this quote from Charlie Parker. Mm-hmm. He said, first you learn the instrument, then you learn the music, and then you forget all that stuff. And just play. Like, you spend all your time, thinking about how it works and stuff, and then by the time you actually get to the actual performance, or even your performance up for the day, just play.
Yeah.
That's how you get there. Like it's
It's
not about what you worked on. It's about the music.
Yeah. Oftentimes, like you watch interviews with people that are longtime professionals, and they get like a panel question or something, and it's like, how do you? Or they'll play something, and somebody will go, how do you do that? And very rarely have I ever seen anyone in an interview go, oh, well, I make sure that my posture is this way, and I make sure that, I always do these breathing exercises, and that my lips are about this far apart, and I make sure that, the proportions. Yeah, usually they go, I don't know. You practice a lot. And it's not that they don't know like how to practice and stuff, but they're like, in their head, they're not sitting there going, and then, you do all these things, and then it works. They're like, I tell my body to do it, and my body does it. Yeah. That's how we walk.
Yeah.
I don't look at this can and go, okay, okay, Connor, now make sure you're moving your arm. That's good. That's good. Now take your pointer finger. Yeah, there you go. That's great. And then the second one, and then I don't even think about it. My body goes, you need to grab that. Okay, grab it. You can grab it like 6 different ways. You can grab it all. I can grab it upside down and not spill it. I could spill it if I wanted to. I'm not going to. Nice table. But it's so internalized and so integrated that you just tell your body, I need you to do it. And you've done it so many times. You go, cool. It doesn't. It does.
For the most part, as everybody witnessed me last night, my hands just...
Yeah, they okay.
Okay. I just think, because we were drumming so much over the past 3 weeks.
It's all that mindfulness.
That's all that honestly, dude.
It really is, yeah.
Because even me, I was having to be like, nah, dog, that's how you move a stick.
Yeah.
I was having, because we had been so long off of it that I kind of started getting some blips in my checklist. Mm-hmm. So then when something was going wrong with the kid, I would be like, okay, what are you doing? And I had to kind of revisit
slow it down,
thoughts,
go back
as
through.
opposed to back before. It's oh yeah, you do that problem because of one of these 3 things, and then you have to say it out. And I was I'd be like, oh yeah, that thing, that thing over there, that's what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's tricky when you're in the position of a teacher, because you want to be able to use that knowledge to immediately diagnose and go, hey, you're having this problem? I think it's this thing. Itemize it. We'll figure out how to fix it. But you also, at least as musicians, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at hearing something and going, I've had that problem before. But every problem in the book now. And this is how you go about fixing it. But then to also turn around and try to shut that off is really hard. And I think vice versa. I think if you're somebody who has it really internalized, then when someone says, can you be more specific about what you think is changing? It's kind of hard to unravel it and get it to the point of I don't know. I just do it.
Yeah.
I think and I do. And I'm going to have to think about it a lot if I want to, break it down into its component parts to figure out what we need to do componently. Yeah.
It's weird how there's that level of you break that barrier, and then all of a sudden you're unable to break it down for at that fundamental level.
It's hard.
Yeah. I'm glad I am where I'm at with the visual teaching, where I have taught fundamentals and know all the issues and know all the problems that but I'm still not it's too far advanced where I can't tell the kid exactly what it is that they need to do. I can just watch a kid marching across the field and oh, I know exactly. You're not using your quad. Use your quad. No, flex your quad. No, flex, lock your knee. You feel that tension, relax the knee, but keep that tension. It's a very bad technique, but for kids that have never used their muscles before, they know how to lock their knee though. And, you lock your knee and you're all that above the knee, now relax the knee, keep that there. Haha. See, now you're standing straight. Mm-hmm. It's, but it's weird how after a certain point you just forget how to break things down.
Yeah, and maybe it's a big part that in the beginning of any skill.
Yeah.
It's maybe the least efficient thing we can do is to break stuff down completely. Like the way that our brains the way that our brains like interpret music as an activity, as something we listen to, is the same, very, very similar to the way that we interpret and act out language. Like there is our body does a physical sensation. My tongue and my lips and my mouth do something, right, to create this noise. It is interpreted from me to your ears. You hear that sound, you process it, and then you use the same sound, the same physical sensation to recreate a sound.
Yeah.
And the sounds we have associated with ideas and we communicate it, right? So with music in the same way, it's like, okay, I have to have this idea in my head so that I know what I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
So that I can do it, and then you on the other end tell me whether or not I said that right. Well, I said that, air quotes, said that right. And then you go, I don't think that's how that goes. And maybe there's an exchange, maybe not, depends on like concert audience, what the medium is that we're playing music in or something like that. But we associate sound with meaning. We associate certain songs, pops. You can't hear Rick Astley anymore without just feeling like, oh, okay, like it's a big joke. Yeah. We create an association with it. A lot of classical music gets associated with like, people want to be dramatic in like commercials, and so they put some classical music over it. I was listening to something the other day, and it was like an insurance commercial, and it's like, Dvorak New World Symphony is playing. Yeah. But, to most people, like, they don't hear Dvorak. They hear it's classical music. Oh, they're trying to be, big and, lots of sound coming through. It's more of an idea than what it specifically is.
How dare they do New World Symphony like that?
But with that, if that's how we interpret and we learn language. Like we learn language primarily. We just listen and then we do it.
Yeah.
Which is weird that we can do that. It's weird that babies, just go. They're around it over and over, and then at some point they start making up. They're trying. They go, hey, I know what no is. I know what yes is. I know like names and things. Yeah. And no one's over here like, listen, okay, hey, no, say it. Your lips together. Like no one's over here like, trying to fundamentally break down what they're doing. We're saying, no, say that, and we just say it back and forth, and then they get it, and they slowly pick it up. Do we learn? We learn to speak usually before we learn to read and write. Yeah. It'd be weird, and it happens. It'd be weird to be like, hey, can you? This menu's in French. Can you read the menu? And you go, yeah. And you read the whole menu all the way down, and it sounds totally fluent. It's like, nice. And you give it back. And I'm like, whoa, you speak French? And you go, nah. I actually didn't know I don't know what any of that means, but I can read it. But I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go say, yeah, I know French. You'd be very specific, and you'd say, I can pronounce French.
Perfectly.
Yeah. I know how to pronounce it. I know how to pronounce most of it. I do not know. I've never used it in a conversation.
Not a single thing.
I've never picked it up naturally. But like, with like mother tongue, your first one, whatever it is, you internalize that, and then you later learn, hey, we're saying this thing, talking about this idea. Here's how you put that down on paper so that we can keep it for later. And then we learn what the symbols are and how we translate that back into like the speech and the ideas and stuff. We teach music the opposite way, and that's goofy. That's so ridiculous that we go, how do I play music? We're going to teach you how to read it real good. We're going to teach you how to sound out all the black notes. We're going to teach you out, like, whether it's filled or whether it's hollow and the length of that. And we're going to teach you how all the way that you can read this and you can clap it. And it's going to be great. And it's like, that's awesome. Yeah. Now look at me. Now clap this back to me. And a lot of times, I did this with college kids at Texas State because I was a screener for the theory and oral pre-exam when they come on audition. So kids that are like, I want to be a music major, and they come into this room separate from their audition, and I say, hey man, I just need you to tell me which of these notes is higher or lower than the first one. Just I'm gonna play 2. Tell me if the second one's higher or lower or the same note, and you would be shocked. How many kids you go, gong, king, and they go, you play it again? And I go, I'm sorry, I can't. And they go, it's lower. I go, huh, okay. And then we do it again, and then they're in because they had a great audition and they were a phenomenal clarinetist or whatever it is. And it's like, why can all these people like practice and read the music, and we can't tell? We can't tell. We can't tell. It's why you have all these theory and oral 1 classes where people are like, I just don't get it. It's like, yeah, because you never had to do this before. You've never ever 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 had to do this before, and you've done it for 7 years. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Like someone brought up, like, okay, you think Jimi Hendrix got good at guitar because someone gave him an Essential Elements book? He knew to go through the exercises before he went to the gym. Yeah, like you hear Victor Wooten talk about how even when he was a kid and wasn't actually playing the instrument, his siblings were like, here's a toy guitar, just strum the beat with us as we play and jam. It's like rhythm, boom, like he's doing it. Even if he can't read music, guess what? He's learning time. He's learning how to keep it. Of course, you want kids to read music. But this whole idea of like, well, rote teaching's bad. It's like, rote is how we learn to talk. Like, that's what we did. Yeah. Rote is really, really successful when it's Suzuki and kids are playing piano at 2 years old. Rote looks pretty good, man. Like, I don't know. And those people it's not like those people later on are like, I just can't read music. It's like, no, I just learned it later. Oh, okay. Really? You can do that? Huh. Oh, that's crazy.
It's like I got a homie, man, back in San Antonio. Shout out Alex Izagite. Phenomenal guitar player. Sick nasty.
Yeah.
Doesn't know what a scale is.
Yep. Would you say that he's not a musician?
No, he's far superior than me. It's very frustrating. And he works at a bank, and I get so angry at him.
It's internal.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. I just I've watched other people do it, and that's how I know how to do it.
But what's weird is that I met him as a percussionist. Yeah. So he was in the percussion program in high school with me. So he read notes on a page. He could read notes on a page. Sure. You give him a scale on it. He's like, he could play that on a marimba, and you're like, play it on guitar. All right, play it for me. Ba da 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 da. Beep beep. Ba da 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 da. All right, what notes did you play? No idea. What?
Yep.
What do you mean you don't?
What do you mean you don't know? Yeah.
But you just played it, and you can play like a 12-string guitar, and you can do like any song ever.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you didn't know the name of a rose, but you'd seen roses before, and someone said, have you seen this? Can you go find this for me? You can go find it.
Yeah.
You might not know. And they go, what is it? And you go, it is this. It is that. No, I want you to name it. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
It's pretty.
I brought you the thing.
You asked me to get it. I got it.
I brought you the fun, colorful grass. I did it. Take it. What do you mean, what's the name? It doesn't matter what the name is. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you think.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Dude. Yeah, it's
there's just
it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's just
there's so many ways to do so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
None of them are right. None of them are wrong. It's
Yeah,
just-
some, yeah, you know, for sure. In
Some are
in
wrong.
some
That's
contexts, it's like, hey, this tends to work way better.
Yeah.
In the way we do systems, like, yeah, for sure. That doesn't mean that it's like the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't hate marching band. It's cool, man.
It's cool, man.
My first drum corps show I got introduced to was, I think, Phantom Regiment '08 Spartacus.
It's a great
Yeah,
first
I
one.
had a friend who marched Revo when we all graduated. Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, baby. OG Texas Corps right there.
He marched it, and then like later, you know, he's like the only person from West Texas to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when he came back and we would all talk later, like in college and stuff, he was like, yo, like it's super sick. And would show all the stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm learning about this right now. That's pretty cool. And little did I know that I was just, you know, when you go tell real like core junkies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I thought Phantom '08 was really cool. Everyone's like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, you know, it's all right for a noob. What's your favorite Cavs show from the '80s? I'm like, what? Why do you care? You weren't alive.
Weren't even born yet.
No, it's cool.
Marching band's
I think
weird,
it's
man.
great.
It is weird.
I think it's super cool.
I don't think people acknowledge it enough as how odd the art form.
There's nothing like it, really.
Yeah, there really isn't.
There really isn't anything like it.
For better or worse.
Yeah. I just don't want to teach it. That's all.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Connortown doesn't hate it. He just doesn't want to do it. Which is, that's okay, man.
A-okay.
It is what it is. Any other tangents you feel?
About that? I
Well,
don't
just
know.
in general? In
Yeah,
life?
I don't know. You got
Again,
any
what do you-
questions or something?
Not really, man.
Yeah, I kind of burnt out on that one. That was a
was-
lot. That was a whole bunch. We could talk a long time. But
We can
it's
talk
just
a
gonna
long
be-
time. I mean, every time we've gotten together, I don't know, Dead Space is
Yeah.
uncommon, and we quickly get into the meat of whatever it is going on
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. Not a whole lot of like surface level banter between you and I. I don't think there ever has been either.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, we don't really catch up.
Yeah.
Like in the traditional sense of like, how's it going? It's good. Flight was great. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you you visited me
I did.
what seems like 10 years ago
Honestly,
before like
Jesus Christ.
as all this stuff was kicking up
That was
with
terrifying.
COVID. Yeah.
It was terrifying. So, I mean, quick, brief explanation of what we're talking about. Spring break was March 9?
Yeah, something like that.
Mike's
like that.
down, dog.
There we are. Something like that. Let me.
Yeah. There, look up the calendar real quick for me, dog. So that Monday, some things happened. Don't want to get into it. Save that for the Patreon. Remember that story that I told you?
Oh, you mean before you
At the
visited
coffee
me?
shop,
I
yeah.
see. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you visited. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you flew.
But then-
back when I
yeah.
was still in Florida. Yeah.
You were still in Florida, but then some life stuff had happened, and I was like, I'm on spring break. I need to get out, and then I bought a plane ticket to Miami, like the day before, like Corona
world burned. Yeah.
was like,
yeah.
like the world was like, oh no, this is like for real, and I was in Florida, and the school hadn't been postponed yet, and I was like, oh,
It was the 10th.
it was the 10th.
Yeah.
Word. So I'm down in Miami. We're kicking it, and I was like, "Am I gonna be able to fly back? What's gonna happen? Is the world shutting down? Am I gonna die in Miami?"
Yeah. It was weird.
It was weird.
Stressful. Yeah. I was trying my hardest to, because and for decent reason, I live all the way at the total end of the United States.
Yeah.
People have jobs and obligations and things, but like people didn't really visit too often, so it was nice. It was
Yeah,
nice.
of course,
And
man.
I was really trying hard to enjoy that and to go, oh, I'm so glad Mark is here, and also I might be leaving forever. I might never come back to this place again. I need to take care of stuff. But also, I would like to enjoy this dinner.
It was, I think we were both in the same boat. It's like, this is weird. We're having a good time, but I feel like we're not allowed to have a good time right now.
There was it kind of felt like every single conversation almost with some, and it's like this still now, inevitably kind of rounds its way back to, check the numbers. At the time especially, it was like, check the cases, check what policies are going on. Yeah, that was a whole mess.
But it was a good trip nonetheless. Ate a lot of really good food. God bless. Some great food.
Yeah.
Some great coffee.
It was very good.
Hopefully we get to go back to Miami sometime soon when the world isn't on fire and people aren't dying as high of a rate as they are right now.
Yeah, for
people
sure.
are always going to die.
For sure. It's a great place to visit. It was good to live for 2 years. 2 years was long enough for me, I think. It was and a part of that might just be me. San Marcos was like a totally second home for me, but it's a college town. I liked that it was very easy to get around. Lubbock's not huge. And Miami was super cool, but a lot of the things that people would ask me about or see, of like, whoa, like you just go to the beach like all the time, and man, everything's so green down there. And it's like, yeah, man, sometimes it takes like 45 minutes to drive 10 miles. Like, I guess pretty. It's pretty backed up.
Different world.
It's kind of like Los Angeles in a lot of ways in the size and the density of the metroplex.
Miami's so
part
dense.
of it. Yeah, and there's all these different neighborhoods, which is cool. But to live there and to do work there, like if someone said, "Hey, you're going to be here for 10 years," honestly, it'd be like, I got to get out of music. I got to get into real estate or something, man. Yeah, business. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that for 10 years down here, freelancing in that capacity, which there's a lot of places you can't do that. But
which is weird because you would associate dense population with the ability to make that work, when not always the case.
Yeah, it's not always the case. And actually South Florida had more of a like class air quotes classical scene than I thought it would. When you think of Miami, you don't think of, there's like a lot of regional orchestras and there's a community wind band that pays pretty well for stuff. But it was there.
That's pretty cool.
There's a lot. Part of it is there's just a lot of retired people also in South Florida.
Makes sense.
And so they're like, well, the symphony's very fancy. We're going to the symphony.
We can go do that.
Cleveland and Chicago every year fly down and do concerts.
Do they
Miami.
really?
Yeah, it's like a vacation for them, and they pack houses to see. All the people come to see him. Our school, Frost, sells a lot of tickets for that kind of stuff because we want to go see that caliber of an orchestra play.
For sure.
It's a big area, so a lot of people come out, and people know. Even if it wasn't, if you tell them, the Chicago Symphony is one of the best symphonies in the world, then people go, well, then we have to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know much about them, but we have to go see it. And so we're going to go do that. I didn't get to see Chicago either time. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. I can't remember if they canceled this past year or if I just wasn't available, but I think the year before either they sold out or I wasn't available. I saw Cleveland. That was cool. There's all kinds of stuff with like concert music and classical music that, of course, people are bored with it if they put it on their Spotify and put it on their system, even if it's a really high quality sound system or a really excellent recording. You gotta be there live. You gotta be there to like feel the room, like pump all this energy through the space. And like they did Mahler 2 is what Cleveland did. And they brought the choir with them and everything, and it was just this.
That's gangster.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, if you don't have that direct association with what that genre of music is, then of course you're gonna be like, it kind of all sounds the same. I don't know. That's how people feel about country music. That don't listen. That don't like And I don't like country music, and it's because I don't go to the rodeo. I'm not a part of this like complete culture that has this music as a staple
Yeah.
of it. So when I hear it on the radio, I just go, it just sounds the same. Like I just need to get rid of it. You know, I'd rather not deal with it at all. Maybe that would change if I was like at the rodeo. It's very telling that I don't listen to it because the only thing I can think of
Is the rodeo.
That I'd see live country music is at a rodeo.
I don't know, where do,
It's like, is there music at a rodeo? Like, I'm trying to like.
I don't
picture a
know.
rodeo.
Sometimes they get big like the Houston rodeo has pretty big artists, I think, or the San Antonio.
yeah, there's concerts.
They have pretty
there.
big names, I think.
I've literally never been to the rodeo before, so
I think I went once.
It never like appealed to me. I was like, oh,
Definitely not for me.
I mean, same, yeah. But
I think I went once just out of like a. You should probably go check this out.
I'm just speculating
Yeah.
now, yeah.
it's a whole different world.
Whole different world.
Yeah. But to be there in that space, all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, I get it.
There's difference.
I get it. Even if it's not your favorite thing, you can go, I understand it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. It's been a big bummer, you know. I know that everyone's switching over to like recorded mediums now, and
Yeah.
it's cool that we're able to do that, and that people are able to get higher quality like recording equipment and studio setup at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Now that it's really starting to become
Almost
a have-to
required.
thing. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, man, nothing's ever gonna compare to like going and sitting out on the lawn and listening to a bluegrass band mic'd up, just like go for it and go nuts.
Yeah.
I always thought bluegrass music was like, it's like, isn't that just like country without words? Like, right? Isn't that what bluegrass is? And then you watch it, you know, you go like, and you know, all of a sudden like Steve Martin plays banjo, and then you
Yeah.
watch him. Yo, Steve Martin plays banjo.
Kills some banjo.
What? Yeah, and you see it, and all of a sudden you go, okay, I get it. I get it now.
That's different.
Even if I don't like it, yeah, that's totally different. It's
Yeah.
super cool.
I like to think of bluegrass as like Baroque country. It's like more,
For real.
more ornamented.
Yeah,
like, more, like,
absolutely.
complexity to it. Like,
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
not so basic.
For anybody that's like, I don't know, country's too simple, too boring. It's like, okay, go listen to bluegrass.
Go check
then.
some bluegrass
If
out.
you're cool with like, you know, a lot of guitar and fiddle and things like that, and that doesn't bother you, yeah, go listen to bluegrass. It's got all that, and they're just pulling tricks all over the place.
Yeah, dude. Super talented
Yeah,
musicians out
whether they can read music or not,
there. Yeah, regardless. Full circle on that.
and it's great.
But yeah, dude, Miami feels like forever ago, and yet still somehow like we're in August now.
Yeah,
so
I still feel a little bit like it's almost kind of break. I
Yeah.
don't like. I'm really ready to like do things. Really ready
Yeah.
to work. But yeah,
No weird
January,
teaching.
January, February, March, August. That's it. That was the year.
That's what it feels like,
January,
man.
February, March, August, and I guess we're gonna keep on going.
Man. Well, any final thoughts? Any closing, life-changing statements you want to make? Shout-outs, plugs, or nothing? We could just do an aggressive cut right here.
You can. I wrote some stuff a long time ago. I wrote some music for a video. My brother's in animation, so I
Okay.
scored a video for him.
Nice.
It's somewhere. I don't know. It's on the internet somewhere. Maybe I'll figure out a way to make that more specific. But I thought it was cool. And I
Solid plug.
didn't really, you know, that was for him. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a, hey, everybody, look at this kind of thing. Life change. Listen,
I'm totally kidding.
no. This is important because I
Okay.
did think of something. Listen, it doesn't matter what the scale says. It doesn't matter what kind of calories you're tracking or anything like that. Bread is worth it, okay? Eat it. Eat the muffin. Eat the loaf. Get the sourdough. Life is too short to be concerned about what kind of bread you are or aren't allowed to have, okay? That's just noise. I'm sick of all the noise. I'm sick of people with lifestyle blogs. I'm sick of everybody shouting out all these things. Bread's worth it, okay? Please, 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 please don't forget that.
Oh my god.
If nothing else from this whole thing, just
Do it for the bread.
do it for the bread.
Get you some bread.
Get this bread.
Vamos por este pan.
Yeah. And literally. Okay. I think that's good. That's the important
It's a
stuff.
great way to end it.
Yeah.
Well, It's been a pleasure, brother, as always.
Yeah, man.
Glad
Thanks for
you're out
having
here.
me.
Glad you're back in Texas.
Yeah,
Glad
me
you're back
too.
in Central
I'm
Texas.
pumped. I'm pumped, dude.
For all the people at home, thank you for watching and staying with us up until now. Y'all be easy. Peace. Love you.